There are a few things on the checklist for new Subi owners. 1. Hit the vape. 2. Unequal length headers. 3. Get new wheels and immediately powder coat them with the most obnoxious fluorescent color you can possibly think of. While we can't advise you on color or give you taste, we certainly can help with the specs that will fit your car. This guide is specifically for the VA WRX and STI, ranging from 2015 all the way up to 2021. We're showing you what wheels look cool, what specs fit the platform. If you are looking for the guide for the 2022 Plus VV, good news, we got you covered. There'll be a card up here or here, or if I don't do that, it'll be down in the description, or whatever the editors decide to do. I'm not sure where it'll be, but we got a guide. Full pattern, 5114. Lug thread, M12 1.25. Center bore, 56.1 millimeters. And the lug torque is 89 foot-pounds. Use a torque wrench. Back when they were trim levels of the Impreza, the WRX and the STI used different bolt patterns, which made it hard to swap wheels between one and the other. Brakes and other suspension components as well just didn't swap. Now, the convenient thing about the 2015 Plus is everything gets a 5x114 lug pattern, RIP 5x100 wheels, meaning we can swap around wheels and brake setups and all that much easier. Aftermarket wheel specs, really quick, easy enough. As a baseline, the factory wheels are 18 or 19, 8.5, 55 width. By far the most common setup is 18 by 9.5 plus 38. That's the spec you want. That's the whole video. Stop watching. Don't stop watching.
God damn it. What do you want?
This will bring the wheels near flush with the fenders and does not require rolling or pulling on the majority of applications, depending on the tires you run and how low your car is. We do recommend a similar setup as the minimum for this platform. In other words, a higher offset or a thinner width might leave you a little dissatisfied in the fitment department. Now, on the flip side of things, if you do not mind playing around with rolled fenders and alignment and camber and all that stuff, you could go with a more aggressive setup. These do have pretty big fenders for a WRX for like the second time, because the 11 to 14 is pretty wide too. Tires wise, 245/40/18 or 245/35/19 will support more power than your car will ever make. For most applications, keeping the factory sizes is perfectly fine. If your car will see some heavy track use, you could consider going to something a little bit larger. 255/35/18 is a great choice, as it usually doesn't require rolled fenders and comes in some more aggressive compounds. 255/40/18, 265/35/18 might require fender rolling or camber, but are certainly possible. Now, brake clearance. We all know they have different brake kits. There are a whole bunch of different brake kits to be exact. You will get the most clearance with the floating style calipers that come on, you guessed it, base model WRX. Although they don't look that great and don't stop that good. 4 and 2 pot Brembos, higher trim WRXs might come with the red Brembos. These are equivalent to those found on the 15 to 17 STI. They are not the largest in diameter brakes. They do poke out an extra 3 to 5 millimeters over the floating WRX caliper, meaning certain wheels might work with the larger 6 2-pot calipers, but not with these. At worst, you could use a small slip-on spacer to solve the issue. The 6 2-pot Brembo, largest brakes, come in the 18 plus VA STI. There are 6-pot front and 4 rear that come in a silver or fluorescent yellow color. If you got these, 17s are normally the smallest that will fit over them. If you're running a 3-piece wheel, good luck. Some 17s will fit, but it's a very short list. And to be frank with you, they're not really wheels that anyone runs, so just go with 18s. Anyway, with 18s or 19s, you will need to choose wheels with a spoke shape that complements large brake calipers. Now, rolling fenders on the VA, it's something you probably got to do, assuming you go with a default aftermarket sizing. You can either lower or get wider tires without rubbing. But if you want to do both, you'll probably need to roll the fenders. And to be frank with you, it's like $100 to roll your fenders, and it's like cheap insurance because if we hit a giant pothole, yeah. Unlike the newer VB, the 2015 to 2021 use metal fenders that can still be rolled like a normal car. A fender roller and a heat gun are all you need to give you a little bit more clearance, and like I said earlier, I just would recommend it. In the rear, you can gain a decent amount of space by just rolling the inner lip over. The front is a little different because the shape of the fender is more of like a U than like an L, so it does require a little bit more pressure. It's a stronger fender. You can get a little bit of a roll action, but the fenders are more likely to pull if you roll them. Either way, you'll have more tire clearance if you want your car stock. Run 18, 9.5, 38 with a stock tire size and don't roll your fenders, but if you're modifying it, roll your fenders. Anyway, first car, WEDSSPORT SA99Rs, 18, 9.5 plus 38. Did you know WEDSSPORT has a ton of wheels in stock in the US? They're JDM, they're super light, they look really good, and you guys don't buy them. You buy Work Emotions instead for some reason. Buy the WEDSSPORTs. Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's 245/40/18s, MCA coilovers on this one, and no fender rolling is required. These wheels, of course, clear Brembos without spacers. Now, we're starting off most common specs. You can see why they're so popular. The fitment is just spot on, chef's kiss. No fender rolling was needed, and there are no rubbing issues, even at a decently low ride height, cornering, etc., etc. You could go with a higher offset, you could go with a thinner wheel, but why bother? This is proven to work. It just works, guys. This WRX has factory-sized tires, although they are upgraded to the Pilot Sport 4S's and is lowered on MCA coilovers, but all coilovers are going to do the same thing in terms of ride height. Next up, ENKEI NT03 RRs, 18 by 9.5. 40 offset, it's functionally the same as plus 38. A lot of people trip over like 2 millimeters of offset. It's the same fit, and at the end of the day. These ones are wrapped up in Continental Extreme Contacts 255/35/18, and this is lowered on a set of springs. There's no rubbing. ENKEI wheels will always be popular on Subarus, and the NT03 RR is not available in a plus 38, but a plus 40 is, like I said, functionally the same thing. A lot of their wheels are available in the 38 offset, things like RPF1, TS5, but it's the same. All the wheels in their lineup are light, they're budget friendly, they're a great wheel option. We have a whole video on the history of ENKEI linked down below. The last car is on a 245/40, this one's on a 255/35. No rubbing issues thanks to the smaller sidewall. This car is lowered about 3/4 of an inch all around on ISC/SS lowering springs. Great brand, kind of slept on. ISC, yeah. Now, next up, get into some JDM stuff. Ramlight 57DRs, 18 by 9.5 plus 38. Why do I always do that?
Excuse me, sir, I'm gonna need you to put your hands behind your back.
Continental Extreme Contact tires. Again, you can see they're kind of popular. 255/35/18. Note on this one, the rear fenders are rolled. It's cheap insurance, like I said, lowered on BC Racing coilovers. And these wheels, of course, do clear Brembos with no spacers. This is a 2015 WRX rocking, guess what? The same specs. Really, the only difference between this one and the last one is that this one is lowered on BC Racing coilovers, so it is a little bit lower. At this ride height, the rear fender did need a slight roll. Otherwise, this is another fairly straightforward setup for the VA. Both the 57DR and 57CR look great on these cars. Their ram lights are super cool. You get a lot of style points. They have a ton of brake clearance. Both will clear all of the factory Brembo kits. So just, again, guys, you see a trend here, right? Next up, TSW AVALONs, 18 by 9.5 plus 39, really breaking some new ground here. These ones are wrapped up in Lexani LX20 265/35/18 tires. This one's lowered on coilovers. Fenders are rolled, pulled, etc., to make the wheels work. These wheels do only work with non-Brembo brake calipers. Dished wheels can look good on these cars too, but tend to have more issues clearing the Brembo brakes. This particular model of TSWs will only fit the WRX base model floating style caliper. Some dished wheels can fit. For example, if you're running like a work multi-piece wheel, like the R disc in the front on the earlier STI calipers will clear. You'll also notice these are 265/35 tires. Sometimes these work at stock height, but if you're lowered, you are going to have to add camber or roll your fenders. However, with a little bit of adjustment, it's certainly possible. That said, on this platform, it's more important to run a really good tire compound rather than a wider tire. You've got all-wheel drive for traction. ADVAN RS3 is on this next one, 18 by 10 plus 35. Falcon, a Zenus, 265/35/18. This is a chunky boy setup. Coilovers on this one, adjustable suspension arms are needed, rolled fenders, pulled fenders. The wheels, of course, clear the Brembos, they're ADVANs or motorsport wheels. We're gonna see what happens in this one if we break the mold and go for more aggressive specs. Oh my God, 1/2 inch of width. Keep in mind, these normally require rolled fenders or adjustable suspension arms in order to prevent rubbing and to dial in the fitment to actually use the contact patch of the wider wheel. These are an 18 by 10 plus 35, so a bit wider with a 3 mm lower offset. Not only that, it has 265/35 tires to boot. So what's needed to prevent this from rubbing? Well, rolled fenders, pulled fenders, all around. Guess what? Extra camber, add that too. Coilovers. You got camber plates for the front, but you know what? You need a little bit more. So you gotta get some arms for the rear. So this is the problem. You get a 9.5 38, you do nothing. You get a 10 35, you wind up having to spend $2,000 on alignment parts. So your call, right? Next up, we're checking out some 19s, AODHAN DS08s. Really nice wheel, really affordable. 19, 9.5, plus 22, all around. These are wrapped up in 225/35/19 tires, so a little bit of a stretch there. Lowered on coilovers, rolled fenders, a little bit of rubbing when turning. These will not clear Brembo brakes without spacers, but AODHAN does have other wheels that will clear Brembos without spacers. So there you go. 18s are the most common on the VA platform, but guess what? 19s will fit. You're in the picture right there. They fit, right? They look pretty good in the right application. This is a 2017 WRX. This is a look at 19s. You could go for the typical width and offset of 19 by 9.5 plus 38, but these do have a lower 22 offset. The owner also opted for thinner tires that do result in a decent amount of stretch in order to make that lower offset fit. Altogether with rolled fenders, the drivability is decent, but at this ride height, rubbing is inevitable. This is a kind of like borderline stance setup, so it's your call if that's what you want or not. Now, greatest wheels of all time, Heritage KOKORO 3-piece, 18 by 9.5 plus 12 all around. These are wrapped up in some Lionheart tires, LH503 215 4018, so they are some stretchy boys. This one is lowered on coilovers, the fenders are rolled, the fenders are pulled, you kind of knew that, and if you're about the stance life, the last two are for you. Starting with a static WRX, riding on some Heritage KOKORO 3-piece, built to order, custom 3-piece wheels. Believe it or not, this car is static, and it's on Raceland coilovers, which don't have dampening adjustments. It's been a while since I had Racelands. They might now. The wheels are still 18 9.5, but the offset's lower at a plus 12. If you like the look of these wheels, but you don't have 3-piece funds, check out the cast Mono C version. They're in stock, they're ready to rock. They are 100 feet that way, and they ship out same business day. Small slip-on spacers on the Mono Cs might be needed for Brembos, depending on which Brembo kit you have. The 3-piece ones are made to clear your Brembos. Rolled fenders, stretched tires are needed to achieve this look. If you're going to be stretching tires this far, it's better to opt for a cheaper option like these Lionhearts over running like a performance tire with a super stiff sidewall, since it can cause debeads. Fun fact, Falcons, people like to stretch them a lot. They have really stiff sidewalls, so they debead like crazy. Now, last up, VOLK Racing TE37 SLs, 18 by 10.5 plus 21, chef's kiss, gorgeous looking setup, beautiful wheel, Nitto NT555 G2s, 235 4018, so stretched, but like a little less, right? This one's on air. It's on an airlift performance kit. There's no revving when it's aired up. Guess what? Don't drive it aired down. The wheels clear Brembos without spacers, but you'd assume that. Most people would get a WRX for air suspension build, but if you want to flex and put your STI on bags, we did it. It was on VSKS. Check it out. That's your prerogative. It was ours. It looked sick. This one's running the most aggressive fitment in this guide with TE37s, 18 10.5 plus 21 all around. Stretchy boy tires, rolled and pulled fenders, camber adjustment. Guys, I can't stop.
You better stop!
10.5-inch wide wheels, the most practical, are not the most practical, and should be reserved for stance or wide body builds. The air suspension kit comes from Airlift Performance, and this car is rocking adjustable arms all around. It's kind of an inevitability when you get into stance cars that you need arms. So let's wrap it all up. The most popular size for aftermarket wheels is 18 by 9.5 plus 38, and this is basically just the starting point. If you want an aggressive look, I'd recommend going a little bit wider or a lower offset. The only thing, you might have to roll your fenders, you might have to pull your fenders. Same goes for tire sizing. Either stay with the factory size, 245/40, or go just a hair wider, 255/35. You can go even wider than this, but one, you're not going to use it. Two, plan on rolling and pulling the fenders. We have so many WRXs and STIs from the VA platform in our vehicle gallery, and if you're not feeling any of these, guess what? We are sure you'll find something you like over there. You got a VA? Check it out, upload it to the vehicle gallery, show it off, help other people dial in their fitment, except we already told you what the fitment is, so they don't really need help, but show your car off. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like, drop a comment, hit subscribe. Let us know what car we should do in the next video, and I'll see you in the next one.